Hello there, I'm Mr. Math Guy, and today we're going to be taking a look at a 10-minute video on function operations, specifically composition. Before we get into doing any of the composition, let's take a look at a review of 4 other operations that we've done previously on function operations. The first one is the addition. So if I have f of x equal to x plus 1, and g of x is equal to x minus 2, then what you do when you add two functions together, you just say, well, it's going to be x plus 1 plus x plus 2, or x minus 2. And then you just try to combine any like terms, so x plus x is 2x, and then 1 plus negative 2 is negative 1. So you just get 2x minus 1, just combine terms. Now, when you subtract, you're doing the same thing. You're just saying, well, it's going to be x plus 1 minus x minus 2, and then you just subtract. So x minus x is 0x, and 1 minus negative 2. 1 minus a negative is actually 1 plus a positive. So the answer to this one would just be 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. When you multiply, you simply just take the functions x plus 1, and you're going to multiply it by x minus 2. Now this right here, two binomials being multiplied, you'd FOIL. So first, x times x is x squared. And then outside is going to be negative 2x, and inside will give me 1x. So negative 2x and 1x gives me negative 1x. And then 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. So x squared minus x minus 2. And then when you divide, you just simply say, well, this is x plus 1 over x minus 2. Try to factor if you can, but nothing does. And then factor and cancel, but since nothing does, that's just your answer. So your answer is x plus 1 over x minus 2. Nothing you can do. However, you do need to state that x cannot equal 2, because that would give you a 0 in the denominator, and that would yield an error. So make sure you have that part missing. X cannot equal 2. Now, a composition function. Composition function's written like this, and it's read as f of g of x. F of g of x. Sometimes it could be said f circle g of x, or f following g of x, or maybe even f composed with g of x. So what I normally use is I just use the word of. So this is f of g of x. And what we're really doing is kind of working inside out. You can see over here on the right side, f parentheses g of x. Do the g of x first, and then whatever you get for g of x, then that's what you'll plug in for the f of x. Let me show you what I mean. So let's say I have two functions. F of x is equal to x squared minus 3, and I have g of x is equal to 2x plus 1. And I want to do this composition function, f of g of x, or in this case, I'm letting x be 5. So f of g of 5, which means this, f of g of 5. So what I do here then, work inside out. Do the g of 5 first. What that means is you plug in 5 into your g of x function. So g of 5 is equal to 2, and you plug in a 5 where you see an x. 5 plus 1. That gives you 10 plus 1, which is 11. That's what g of 5 equals. Now you plug that number 11 into your f of x. So you're going to say f now of 11 is equal to 11, that's what your x is, squared minus 3. So 11 squared is 121, and 121 minus 3 is 118. So f of g of x, or f of g of 5, in this scenario, is going to be equal to 118. Think of it like this. Think of it kind of like this over here on the side. They have these little boxes. Let's say that we're doing g of 5. So you're putting a 5 into the g of x function, and it comes out, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 plus 1 is 11. It comes out as 11. And then you plug the 11 into the f of x, x squared minus 3, x squared minus 3, and that gives you 118. And so this is your end result. So it's kind of like putting something through a machine, and then it comes out and goes into another machine, and that gives you your final answer. So this is how you do a composition function. Let's take a look at some more examples. In this particular example, I have three functions: f of x equals 3x minus 4, g of x equals x plus 1, and h of x equals 2x squared minus x minus 3. If I'm doing the function or the composition function f of g of x, and I don't have a value here for x, then what you simply do is you take g of x and you plug it into f of x. So f of x is 3x minus 4. So I write out 3, but anywhere I see an x, I plug in my g of x. So I'm going to plug in x plus 1. I'm taking this value and plugging it in to there. But I still have the minus 4. Now, go ahead and distribute, and you get 3x plus 3 minus 4. And then combine terms, you get 3x minus 1. So if they don't give you a value to plug in for x, then you just take your second function that's given to you from left to right, and you plug it into the first one. So g of x into f of x. Let's take a look at this one, g of h of x. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in h of x into g of x. So everywhere in g of x, I have an x, I plug in h of x. So when I start off with my g of x is x plus 1. But instead of writing x, I'm going to write what h of x is. So I'm going to write 2x squared minus x minus 3. So I'm taking all of this right here, and I'm plugging it in right there to that value. And then I still have the plus 1 at the end. Now, when you do this, you're just going to get 2x squared minus x, and negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. So you get 2x squared minus x minus 2. Now, let's take a look at composition functions where we just have ordered pairs, some points. All right, so we have f of g of 3. What we need to do is we go to where x is 3 in g, so it's right here. And what is our y value when we plug in 3? Well, our y value is negative 2. So that's what we plug in, or that's what we look up into the f function, or the points. So when does x equal negative 2? Right there. X is equal to negative 2, and what do we get? We get an answer of negative 1. So it's kind of like a little bit of substitution. So you look for g of 3. G of 3 is negative 2. And then you plug negative 2 into the f of x. And negative 2 is negative 1. So let's take a look at another example. F of g of 1. So we look for g of 1. G of 1 is right there. And what does g of 1 equal? G of 1 is equal to 2. So then we plug in 2 in our f of x. So we go up here. Where's 2? There it is. And what does the 2 value equal? 2 value is 3. So f of g of 1 in this case is 3. Let's do an example where they give us functions again. So f of h of negative 5. What this simply means to do is to plug in negative 5 into your h of x. So when I plug in negative 5 into my h of x right here, negative 5 for x squared minus 4. Negative 5 squared is 25, and 25 minus 4 is 21. Now I'm going to take that value and I'm going to plug it into my f of x. I'm going to plug it in up here. So 5 times 21 plus 3. 5 times 21 is 105, and 105 plus 3 is 108. 108. One more quick problem. G of f of 3. Plug in f of 3 into f of x. So when I do that, I get 5 times 3 plus 3 equals 18. Then I plug in 18 into my g of x. So negative 18 plus 1 is negative 17. So my answer is negative 17. Thank you for watching. God bless.